All right. Okay.
What's poppin', everybody?
All righty. We are live on
Yay.
YouTube. Oh my gosh. Black girl
Mm,
missing. It's
finally.
live.
We are live.
What it do, people? What it do?
Had the channel so long I didn't even remember it. So
2024. We got a YouTube. Are we podcast bros now?
We got to get
no.
like those really big, ignorant ass mics.
Oh,
And yeah,
Have we just
uh,
kind of moved into the realm of podcast bro?
I hope not.
Do we no, but do we
I,
change
we
the
do not.
podcast bro game from within?
That's not how that works.
Oh, I was just thinking about that. Anyway, it's been so long. So how do we do this? How do we start this thing? Like, what do we do? Nikki, remind me how this goes.
welcome everybody. This is Black Girl Missing Live on YouTube. We are here today to talk about Vice News presents When Black Women Go Missing. I am your co-host, Nikki. If you are unaware of what I look like, this is my face. And these are my peoples. This is Asa and FJ. Say hi.
Hey y'all.
Hey, we've never done this before, so give me
Yeah.
like you guys talk. I'm trying to figure out how I can enable comments maybe on the YouTube. Am I too late for
Oh,
this? Like,
I don't
what
know.
have I done wrong? Oh,
I am
God.
not
We are women of a
accustomed.
certain age.
We are women of a certain age, and I will be a different age in a few days, so I feel like I've stepped into auntie life, and now I'm like, how do I edit a PDF? This is where I
I
feel
know.
like I am. Let me
This is
figure
this
this
is your
out. You
version
guys,
of
you
not
all
knowing
kick
how
it off a
to
little bit.
edit a PDF,
Yes.
and I love it.
Yo, can you
Yes.
maybe recap? You all just did something really major. You just
Yeah, we
appeared
did.
at a conference. Can you recap that for folks?
Sure. Asa?
So we did the Missing Black Women's Disparity Symposium, put on by Nan Washington.
Nan Washington
Washington.
Foundation, yeah.
Thank you. And it was great. They had several different panels. The one we were on was for specifically for podcasters that true crime podcasters that focused on cases of Black girls and women. We also had some law enforcement, private investigators that gave their not just opinions but expertise on what happens when we search for missing Black women and girls. We had, they had a cybersecurity expert talking about how to keep yourself and your children a little bit more safe and get your social media and information locked down. And then they also had families of missing Black women and girls speaking about their experience of the search for their family.
I do want to reflect on two things from that symposium that stuck out really far for me.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was listening to the family members and knowing that we are getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Yeah.
are getting it right. We are doing it right. We are doing their stories justice to know that what they're looking for is for someone to almost speak in the same tone that they would. We are
Mm-hmm.
angry for them because they are angry also. We had an opportunity to hear from family members who are either not getting any response from law enforcement or not getting a good response, or they sort of kind of drop off, or they start to do this thing where they are cynical, pessimistic,
Mm-hmm.
and almost like rude and nasty to the families.
Yes.
And just like hearing them firsthand talk about how they were treated by law enforcement is, I mean, expected. Like we know that they're going to
Yeah.
act like that, but to hear it from someone who experienced it while they are like seeking someone that they love who is missing, it's like, how dare you? This person
Mm-hmm.
is looking for their daughter, their sister, their mother, etc. Why are you speaking to them like that?
Right.
And just being able to kind of sit around a, proverbial table. It was virtual. But to be able to sit around these women and listen to them from their own mouths just emote, it was also very emotional for me. I cried a couple times. I had to turn my camera off. But the other thing that stuck out was the cybersecurity portion, and it just kind of brought up something that I was thinking about today. Apartment tours, that's an unhinged thing that people do. I don't understand it. Please stop giving apartment to, like, it's, oh, this is how my daughter's room is decorated. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But yes, the cybersecurity expert, she's got like 30 years in the game, 40 years in the game, something like that. And so she has a lot of experience with what can go wrong where your cybersecurity is involved. And it's, not signing up for everything, not giving out your personal information, not having your government name on these websites, because you don't know what happens to your information once you put it there. Not posting pictures everywhere, not geotagging yourself in places. Like if I tag myself or I check in somewhere or whatever it's called, I already left that place.
Yeah.
I may have even left that place that day. It was, may have been the day before that I was there. And I think some people think, oh, well, you're not important enough to be affected by that. How do you know?
Right.
I mean, stranger things have happened. And we know that Black women and girls are often targeted because nobody cares.
Exactly.
So it makes us an easy target for people who are looking to harm us.
And I want to go back to what we were talking about hearing from those families. I think one of the things that is missing very often from true crime is that firsthand experience. You don't get the same information, the same tone, the same energy when you're hearing it from a second, third party. And most people don't realize there's a lot missing when you are going to media sources that are just reporting secondhand. You don't get a lot of the focus on how dismissive and downright obstructive the police are when it comes to missing Black women and girls, and just how much they treat the family as an inconvenience.
And that just made me think about something else. When we were in this symposium, the family members were talking about how police can obstruct the work, but also when the media is reporting on it, the details that they put in are the details that they deem important, not the details that the family deems important. So if you go back and you listen to the prior 3 seasons of Black Girl Missing, we have gone to multiple sources to like piece together what took place and what happened. And there's so many times where we'll read one news story and there's this large chunk of details completely missing that we go find at another source. And it's like scary to know that there's all of these things that could be missing from something, and all of this incomplete information that you're not receiving because somebody else deemed it unimportant or not pertinent to the story in full.
It's really interesting because I just went to this forum on like human trafficking, and it's out here in Whitelandia, and it was hosted by a Black women's organization. And it was really informative. It had like so many people there or what have you. And so of course, they're talking really generally, right? And so of course I stand up and I ask my question, and I was like, okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, because we're sitting here in a room full of Black women. Let's talk about how you respond. And you're telling us all these indicators and things that you notice when it comes to trafficking, but like, how are you making sure that your department is treating Black girls and women the same way. And, the police officer got super defensive. And, because I pointed out statistics and he's like, well, I disagree with you wholeheartedly and we are not racist and blah. I don't care if you're black, white, or purple. And I was like, that's the first indication that you're racist because you talk about purple people and they don't exist, right? So I'm just like, yeah, okay. And then he kind of like goes on to dismiss me. And I was just like, one of the other women was like, no, she raises a great point. We have to talk about how you all go about this. Like, this is, again, white landia, white rural area. I'm sorry, like, I don't believe that you all are treating black girls that go missing in the same way that you treat the white girls, right? And so his supervisor later said, you're right, and we don't mean to be dismissive. And he explains that they do DEI training and all that kind of stuff. And he welcomes me. He's like, you're invited to come in and kind of meet with us and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm just raising the question because I know the truth. I know y'all don't care. Like, you don't have to sit here in front for me and your response is telling me. Your response is telling me you don't care and that you got issues. So, it's whatever, man. It's whatever.
So do we want to get into the documentary now? And
yes.
our responses to it.
But listen. So there's no chat on it. Okay, listen. Y'all. Okay, so just real quick, because we are in an interlude stage of Black Girl Missing. We have done 3 seasons of Black Girl Missing, and we just got to get better with every season. Shout out to everyone that has shown this podcast love over the years. This is our first live stream, and we are going to be utilizing our YouTube channel much more for things like this and for other stuff. Nikki's got some great stuff, cooking in the kitchen, so we're gonna have that. But we want people to subscribe. We want people to tune in. We want you to catch us everywhere that we are. Season 4 will be recorded over the next few weeks, I should say. I was kind of holding us up a bit. I will own that. We've had some times in between seasons where things have been what they are, or what have you. But like Game of Thrones, we come at the anointed time and unappointed time, right? And it's just like, we appreciate your patience and waiting. I had to go and get a PhD. So, my bad for holding us up a bit.
We can say we have a doctor on the podcast.
We do.
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm telling you,
we're very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I'm telling you, I'm gonna go in this podcast bro space and I'm gonna be like, that's Dr. FJ, and I know what I'm talking about. You don't. But no, so we are going to be doing stuff. I'm actually looking forward to it. We have talked about, all kinds of great ideas, like, putting together series that are looking at, the systems and the problems that we have within these systems. And, Nikki's been looking into, Florida Child Protective Services and stuff like that. So we're really going to bring you some awesome material, and I'm looking forward. Sorry that this chat is disabled. I will figure this out by the next live stream so that you all can join us actively in the chat. But, going forward, but for this time, just watch it. And yeah, so let's get into this documentary. How did this come about? I can't even remember.
So
Ace is like our like correspondent, our admin, our all of that. Like Nikki's
I'll be
like
answering the emails
and stuff like that. I just kind of show up. Like they're I just like, hey. So how did this come about?
So Vice actually reached out to us because Alexis from Vice reached out to us because she listens to the podcast, and she's the one that came up with the idea of this documentary, and how she wanted to explore it was, I think, a little different than what you normally see, because very often it's a very high overhead view of a topic, and she wanted to get down into like, what's really going on? What are these systems that are keeping us from finding Black girls or getting the same attention? And she wanted to not be exactly like salacious, but really drive home some serious points about it. And we were like, we want to get in on it. Like, we want to hop right in. We would love to have you film us while we record a podcast episode. So we made it happen. We got all the dates lined up. We had a full day of shoot.
Yeah,
and
we shot this 2 boyfriends ago.
FJ.
Hey, that's how long it's been. Or either that or I just run through men like that. I don't know. Like it's just that's
a very interesting way of keeping time.
Yeah,
I
Why
will
you gotta
say
be like this?
accurate.
This was filmed at my, my ex's house. It was nice. And you'll see one of his cats there. Her name is Soleil. She pops up. Can I play a little bit of the clip from the scene? Can I do that?
You
Will
sure
it let me
can.
do that? I'm wondering, will it let me do that?
Oh,
If the stream is happening? It might not.
I don't know.
All right, well, go to
It's
Tubi.
a possibility.
Right.
Regardless.
So if you go to Tubi,
You should have already watched it because it premiered the other day.
Yes, we're gonna put the link in the comment section so you
go back and watch it again.
Go and watch it. It's so good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like
it's not a Tubi movie.
If you don't know Tubi, Tubi is not known for Academy Award caliber films. Okay,
right.
Although there are some that have won some Academy Awards on the Tubi. Tubi is right. So like if Tyler Perry had a knockoff nephew and that nephew had an iPhone 8, those films on Tubi are what he made in his 10th grade audiovisual class. Okay. That's Tubi. However, if you have never watched anything on Tubi before in your life, you're going to get a quality film out of this one. This one was done amazingly well. A lot of resources were invested in this, and make this your Tubi debut.
Yeah.
Go hop on over
this is
and
worth
watch
subscribing. It's free.
It's free. Free 99.
It also doesn't require you to like register.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna have to register. I clicked the link and bam, I could just watch it. It was great. I do want to touch on some of the build up to us doing this. We're very selective about the panels and things that we participate in. I mean, the three of us are individuals. We don't always agree. We have a lot of differing views, but in general, our values are the same. And there are invitations that we receive from different places that are like, hey, we want to have you on here. And we're like, what you're doing and what we're doing are not the same, and our values don't align. So sometimes you got to say no because all press is not good press. We chose to do this because Alexis, being a Black woman, she was very candid and very honest, and she was like, hey, this affects me too. Like, I want to know what's happening that's wrong. Like, let me know, just woman to woman, like what the issue is, what's missing. She didn't come at us like, a news lady or, anything like that.
You can tell she actually listened to the podcast as well, because we get a lot of cookie cutter asked to be interviewed, be on a podcast show, whatever. And you could tell they haven't listened to the podcast, and we're not everybody's cup of tea. We are a smidge more radical in our thinking, all of us being abolitionists. So you're not going to, if people knew that, we wouldn't get asked to be guests as often.
I was also impressed because even the film crew was familiar with our work.
Yes.
And they didn't really have to be. All they had to do was show up and film.
Exactly.
But it showed in how they filmed us, right?
Yes.
Like they kind of knew that Asa was going to drop some one-liner that they had to catch. They kind of knew that I'd be in the corner somewhere laughing at something, right? Nikki, you'd be bringing the smooth CD 101.9 jazz vibes. The leader of the group who actually keeps us on track.
Yes. Baby, we can go off the rails.
You are.
Nah, because if you weren't here, we'd be off the rails.
No,
very
it would
quickly.
be. We never like what? Who would we ever talk about? Like
That's fair. I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
Now, just for so and also, do we? I mean, again, live stream, first time. Some people may not know the other Black girl missing scandal that happened. Right,
Girl,
it's been a while. Like briefly, like let's just briefly touch on this. Listen, this is our inaugural, our initial.
There are two scandals that we
live
can go over.
stream. So
I'm gonna be a tad messy.
There's a little bit. There's a movie. There's a movie. Not on Tubi.
Not on Tubi.
On a
Lifetime.
Major network.
Love Lifetime. Surviving R. Kelly. Shout out to them. I've worked with Lifetime a few times, which made this all the worse. So we're scrolling one day. We're just happen to be on the internets and on our socials. And we happen to come across a film called Black Girl Missing. I thought
not in production, not a thought.
Perhaps she was missing her homework and didn't hand it in. So I just wanted to see what it was about. Come to find out, it's a movie about a Black girl that went missing. I said, well, golly, that sounds a whole lot like what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into this whole thing, y'all. And we basically was on the social media like, y'all better show us some respect, blah, blah, blah.
Hashtag bullying works.
Hashtag bullying works.
It does.
And one thing
they got back to us and they were like, oh damn, our bad.
We're so sorry. Oh my God.
Oh my God, like we would never. Our legal team, they didn't do enough research. And I'm like, yeah, okay, one quick search. Go right now. Go search Black Girl Missing and see what comes up. You know what I mean? Like,
I wanna be clear about our intentions on calling them out. It's not a quote unquote clout chase. Right. This is about work that we're doing and how it's being dismissed. And we work so very hard to get these cases, the stories out there, the names of these girls out there, and the names of girls that are missing right now out there so that people know. And to have such a huge network with such a wide audience.
Who knows me?
Who knows you?
Who has worked with me? Like, basically, that's what got me.
Overtake everything in terms of just the name alone, overshadow what we've done was painful. For free. Was painful, but also like had they come to us sooner, who knows, like the larger platform we could have had to get these stories out and have people know about all of these missing Black girls that are missing right now. And that was such a huge missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, and thankfully, through conversation, through negotiations, we were able to work out where they hosted co-hosted a town hall for us that we were able to go online and kind of really talk about this and bring in some folks involved in the film and, really have a bigger conversation about that because listen, we're not trying to compete. It's just like we already established this. And this is a labor of love and has been for several years now. I think we're almost at 5 years now. We've been working on this.
It'll be 5 years in July.
Yes. And we don't make no money off of this. Like
we have no ads. We don't sell you skull candy headphones in the middle of an episode.
We pay
never
gonna hear like our hosting online. Everything
most we have is the Patreon, and that is just to cover the overhead costs.
And it still don't.
And still don't.
So subscribe to our Patreon. We'll put that information in the comment in the.
You can also go to our website and just donate.
Then we gonna put all of this here, right? Yeah. But the bottom line is that it said to me. What it said to me is that we do have an impact, and that the work that we are doing is super important, and it really charged me up to like, let's keep going forward, let's keep going, and let's continue to grow this and think about, what more we can be doing. So this idea of like exploring the systems behind this is like really important to me, important to us. And we're gonna keep this going. And when families reach out to us and, they'll say things like, nobody else was talking about, our family member, or here's a story that we want to share because this didn't get out. We invite folks to continue to do that. Continue to reach out to us if we've covered someone that and you have more information. If you'd like to come on the show and talk about it, we're open to all of that kind of stuff, going forward. So I'm really excited about it. But let's get back. Okay, we gotta get back to the documentary. You told people we talk about the documentary, but there's just been so much that's been going on, right? Like, we have a strong fan base. We have people that have been riding for us and that, really support this movement. So we just want to keep you all updated and let you know we're not over here like sleeping and like, we've had stuff going on behind the scenes, but Black Girl Missing is still live and well, and we doing what we do.
Not going anywhere.
Indeed.
We're not going, and as long as Black girls are still missing, you know what I mean?
We have a show, unfortunately.
We have work to do, and as long as podcast bros still talk, okay. Anyway,
listen.
Let's get into what was your like favorite part of the documentary, Nikki?
I think my favorite part was I had two parts that really like stuck out for me. One was Shamari actually being found. We don't get to see people be found and reunited with their families often enough. So I mean, it was just very touching, very beautiful. And then, I mean, let me just go ahead. The part that featured us.
So good. Oh my gosh.
And we had a really long conversation with the Vice News folks, and a lot of the things that we said, even if it's not our voices saying it, ended up in this documentary. The way that we speak about missing women and girls in the United States is always coming from a place of empathy, but also a place of reality. Sometimes, we might get negative feedback on, sometimes we'll talk about, teenagers lie, or sometimes people make poor decisions. Sometimes people do things that they're not supposed to do, or sometimes they were running away from responsibilities, or whatever the case may be. But it's a reality. It's really part of life. And the fact that there were parts of this documentary that were not so like crystal clear and nice and good and sparkly rainbow bubblegum, because we're real people. We're real people. Black women are real people too. So like when I see things online that are like Black women are superheroes, no, we're not. We are regular people just like everyone else.
It's so dehumanizing to say that.
Right.
Like,
it is extremely dehumanizing, and it's gross to watch people say, oh, well, you're supposed to be stronger than that, or you're supposed to be able to do XYZ. And it's like, no, it's really not. Like, we're people.
Right.
And we go through things, and there's, there isn't a perfect victim. There is no such thing. So to be able to watch the documentary and see how these people who were not they're never going to be the perfect victim, were still humanized. And one thing that I noticed about this documentary is that there weren't a whole lot of white people in it. That made me very happy. So having their story told by Black women, having Black women listen to that story be told, having the family members, when they're reaching out to people on the street, they're talking to our community. They're talking to other Black women. They're talking to other Black folks.
I really loved how they showed them pounding the pavement.
Like,
people,
it made me
they're not just sitting back waiting. Like, they're showing all the effort that families go, they put forth when their loved ones go missing. And I really appreciate it.
And for me, like, one of the best parts of this documentary was how they don't sugarcoat how the police act. They
Nope.
are putting a magnifying glass on how condescending, rude,
Oh
obstructionist
God. Yeah.
all cops typically are, speaking with a sheriff, doing the very same things, being dismissive. Oh, that wasn't my job. Oh, I had no idea. You were in charge of this department. Why don't you know what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. And the
think,
one black cop, and like
yes,
how he was talking, like
exactly.
her foot was on
On
his
his
neck.
neck. Yes.
You
And
know, and that's
definitely.
what needs to keep happening. Like that's why we really want folks to watch this so they can see how negligent the police are and see how them be held accountable, because had they
Right.
done this, we would have, maybe found this person, and just to see that in real time was like, whew.
It's like finally somebody is showing it, because you hear it sometimes, you hear it and see it in the statistics when people talk about it, but to hear it from the families, the recordings of the police yet telling someone, don't yell at me or else I will hang up, when it's not yelling. I am scared. I am worried about my sister, and you are not doing anything. I'm giving you all of the, I'm telling you, this
I was
man has
hot.
been abusing her.
Yeah.
And you are saying, if you don't stop yelling, I will hang up.
That scene
This
had me
is
hot. I was hot.
Yes.
And he hung up.
And he just kept saying, stop yelling at me. And she's like, I'm not
Not
yelling. And she
yelling.
wasn't
But
yelling.
she wasn't.
But that's
She
the
was,
loud black girl thing, right? It's
the
like,
angry black woman.
anytime we show passion or we are direct or we speak up for ourselves or we advocate, people want to dismiss us as being angry or loud or what have you, which in turn makes us be loud because you're not listening. And so we are going to do what we need to do to be heard. And that particular scene, I was just like, oh my God, like I could feel like the frustration and the anger like burning in her the way he was talking to her, and I'm glad that
that was
he
shown,
caught that.
because I think if you aren't living that reality, you have no idea exactly how bad it is. And because we don't typically hear from family members and people who have the firsthand experience with dealing with this, it's overlooked.
Yeah. And
there was another, I'm sorry, there was another family member who said the police would say things like, oh, well, she just ran away, or, oh, she just, walked off. And she said, no, I'm the expert on my family member.
Yes.
Yes.
Not
Exactly.
you.
Yes.
And I'm supposed to just take what you said and say, well, okay, she ran away, and just leave it. No.
Yes.
And
I love that when they were like, I'm the expert. Yeah.
There are so many cases that we have covered where it's apparent that law enforcement dropped the ball. It is obvious, glaringly obvious, that they just said, oh, she's a runaway, stamp her, and just, we're not going to follow up on that. We're not going to dig into it, even though there's plenty of evidence that something ain't right.
Right.
And to watch a family member say, no, you're not going to tell me about my sister. You're not going to tell me that you know more about what she would do, because so much of policing is theoretical. It's based on what they think people are going to do, based on whatever sample size from.
And bias.
And their bias.
And their bias. Like, that's it. Their bias really determines how they move and how they think and approach these things. And it doesn't matter if you're a black police officer, because one, you're still an agent of the state. You're a traitor. But anyway, like you it doesn't mean that you are acting in the best interest of black people, and you're acting in the best interest of the blue, at the end of the day. And so it's like, I like that it showed that you can't even, and it's I'm not even going to talk about, the whole black male, black woman, kind of disconnect either, and the devaluing of black women for the sake of, aspirations of white maleness, right? We don't need to talk about that right now.
There was another key point that it wasn't super obvious, but they did not conflate sex work and sex trafficking. There was an intentional moment where they said that there are some girls that are out there of their own volition and free will, and they do this because that's what they want to do. And there are others that are trafficked. And I think what gets missed with all this trafficking talk is that if you consider everyone that is a sex worker a victim of sex trafficking, you are doing a disservice to everyone everyone affected. So we know that people that are arrested because of for under prostitution are usually criminal, like, looked at as someone doing something terrible and illegal and looked at as a bad person and jailed because of that.
Right.
So even no matter like which way you're looking at it, if they're out there of their own volition or if they are victims, you're still treating everyone the same. And that overall fear of someone being labeled a sex worker in any way is why those things get conflated. And there's a lot more, but my brain's not working enough to like really flesh it out. But
It's okay.
I did
Listen,
want to point out,
it's Sunday.
yeah.
It's a Sunday evening, folks who are watching. And just really quickly, I did put on the captions kind of late on this, y'all. Listen, again, first live stream. We are working things out. We will have a checklist and we will make sure that we are getting all this done so that when we go live, we are giving you the best quality. So it took 25 minutes for the for the captions to come on. And that's on me. Don't blame my sister co-host. That was on me. But we have them now, and we are committed to accessibility as much as we possibly can in these internet streets. I really liked the part where we were there and we were talking. Listen, it is an Aries season. I am an Aries. This is our time to shine and be really proud. But I am extremely proud. And I was watching this. The last few weeks for me have been like ridiculous, like all over the place. Dealing with health issues, trying to get this PhD done, all these, kinds of things, stuff, whatever. And so my emotions have just been like, ah. And so when I sat to watch this, I wasn't really sure, how I was going to feel because this topic, we always feel a way about this. And I was just filled with immense pride of you two, of us, of what we've done. Proud to know you all, proud to be a part of this. And I really, really appreciated how Vice shot this. Okay. So, somebody who pays a lot of attention to film, like just the way that they filmed this to not make us look ridiculous. And I'm going to say this, I've been on a number of projects and been in a number of situations where they go out of their way to make you look ridiculous or make you sound ridiculous or to do some kind of manipulative thing. And I think that just in the way that they shot us, the care that they showed with that, how they showed our process, very behind the scenes so folks get to see this, like we invested in, podcast equipment and it wasn't from Amazon. It's good quality stuff, so like
the
just
CIA
even that
did not drop it in our hood. So
if anybody wants to donate so that we can recoup the costs of some of that, that'd be awesome. But no, I really, really loved seeing that. And I was like, well, now I get to update our IMDb because, we're movie stars now. Like, listen, we are Tubi stars. We are out here doing things. Listen, we get the debut. Listen, we get the debut of When Black Women Go Missing. We get Cowboy Carter. And it's, it's a big weekend for the Christians. Listen, we put it all together.
We were dropped on the same day as Beyonce. Who else can say that?
Hot fire. Hot fire.
Do y'all see what I gotta deal with? Do you see these two?
BGM. Top 5 podcasts.
Gang, gang. And
what?
Where were we going? See what I said? Off the
well, I mean, we're getting at like 39 minutes already. You guys, we don't like to be on here too long. So
yeah, we sure don't.
Any final thoughts for our first live stream? Our first annual?
I do have some final thoughts. So to anyone who's watching, I know that sometimes we can get some pushback or some feedback that, you know, our episodes are too sad or our show is too sad and well, I can't listen to that because it's so negative or, you know, whatever. Or I don't want to watch documentaries like that because I'm tired of Black trauma and this and this and that. Look, unless you know that these things are happening, nothing's going to change. You won't know about it unless you are seeking out that information because we are Black. Nobody cares about what we have to say. They don't care. They don't give a shit.
That's right.
They just don't. So when an independent media company comes to you and says, hey, we want to make this thing. Yes, I want to talk to you. I want you to put it out there because I need my community to care about what's going on. We are not looking for white people to save us. We are not here for them. That's why this is Black Girl Missing, hosted by Black women, for Black folks to know what we go through and what the issues are. Being able to say there's documentaries on this out there now, that is so important.
Yes.
To what happens in the future.
Yes.
There should be more documentaries. There should be more specials, more YouTubes, more podcasts even. We don't need one more like hood relationship podcast. We don't.
Because
we don't.
Because how many of them are responsible for
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So no, but that's real. And you know, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable. We have to be okay with the fact that African American life, we have as a people had a lot of difficult times because we live under a white supremacist system, right? We live under a nation that is built on white supremacy. It is racist, it is sexist, it is ableist, it is queerphobic, it is all those things. And when you live in a system like that, you have to expect that time's going to be hard at times. And they won't get better if we don't even know what's going on, right? So if you would like to avoid that because, you know, your spirit can't take it or what have you, that's cool. But you could also just share what we're doing, right? You can amplify what we're doing. It might not be for you, but your Aunt Brenda may love it, right? So maybe she's not on, you know, Facebook or Twitter or things like that, but maybe she has a phone where she could listen, you know, while she's, you know, doing the dishes or whatever. Maybe this could become her stories. You don't know, right? We just put us out there, share our work, plug us, get people to support us, get people to give us 5-star ratings on these platforms. Please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star ranking, go to Spotify, do all of those things. They really help us. They really help us get attention, help people find us, right? Because sometimes I do this. I'm a huge true crime, you know, podcast listener. I'll search for something and random things will pop up and it's usually based on viewer, you know, rankings and things like that. So please go ahead and give us those 5 stars and then listen and stream it when you go to bed at night. Just hit play and let it stream all night. Listen, I'm pulling it all out. This I learned from the podcast bros because nobody actually gives a shit about what they're doing. But somehow they're getting numbers. Like they'd be like, my stuff is doing numbers. No, it's not. But I've learned.
We don't want hate views.
we want people to just kind of support what we're doing. All right. And any final things, Asa?
I have 2. One, I want to thank Alexis for her vision on this documentary and putting it together so well and having such respect for the content and the families. And then the second thing I want to point out is back to what FJ was saying about being able to be uncomfortable and us living in a white supremacist society. We have to also take accountability for how we talk about Black women and girls and how we view them through a white supremacist patriarchal lens so often. And that is why, even in our own communities, we are overlooked because that's been such a mindset that these girls are fast. These girls are just running away to be with some man. And that whole mindset is part of the problem. We can't police our own communities. We can't care for each other if we devalue each other in that way.
And my final thought is we are seeing already, but we are going to see um, a change in the tide and an increase in this kind of thing because of the increased debasement of Black girls and women that we are seeing online. Unfortunately, many of our brothers are succumbing to the red pill content. You know, Kevin Samuels is gone, right? That's, but his legacy lives on. Andrew Tate is out there. There's so many of these like manosphere types out here, and they've managed to get to young Black men, young Black boys, and they're starting as adolescents, and they're convincing them that we are worthless, that we are, we're not valuable at all, that they can treat us however they want, that they can dismiss us. I mean, Andrew Tate is accused of trafficking, himself. And so we've got young people that are following him and seem to think that he's like someone to, he's goals, right? We have to really kind of rev up and ramp up what we're doing on our side to try to counter things like that. As a mom, I'm constantly checking in with my son and, making sure like he's not listening to these kinds of things or that he understands that this stuff is horrible, it's awful. And he does, and I'm thankful, but parents definitely check in on your boy. They are targeting our boys, right? Like the same way our girls get targeted in these kinds of ways, they are targeting our boys and really reaching them to this point where like we're seeing young teenagers like shooting girls, slashing their faces, all kinds of things, like horrible, horrible things are happening at such young ages. And so if we're talking about, Black girls going missing, we really have to start looking at their peers, and we have to start looking at what this culture that's being, it's a total shift, and it's horrifying and it's terrifying if we're being honest. So let's can kind of keep that in the back of our minds as well as we continue to do this work. All right, 47 minutes in. So let's let's say goodbye, I guess. We gotta do this more often. I like the live stream. You don't like the live
I
stream?
do too. I have
like the
to
live
make
stream.
sure that
Nikki's like,
Nikki's
you know what?
I don't love it. I don't love it, but I come along for the ride because I'm a team
But you
player.
know what? We might be able to do something. Maybe Asa, you and I, we could do some Aisha alerts. Maybe we
True.
could live stream some Aisha alerts to put some content
Definitely.
on the YouTube so you get some stuff. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna work it out. We're gonna think about some
Yeah.
things. All right, y'all.
Thank you for
Always a
tuning in.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you all so much for being here. And shout out to the folks on YouTube. We really appreciate you.